Hey, I'm Felipe, and in today's video, we're going to talk about how you can book thousands of appointments with Smartlead AI. And we're going to cover everything that encompasses this. This is not going to be a beginner video where I just show you how to press buttons inside Smartlead. I'll instead give you a whole masterclass as to how first, you build the base that is going to be setting up your domains, setting up your email accounts, and the right settings to put on each of these. Then how you deploy your army into the field, and that's going to be your Codimo scripts, what you're sending, the leads, who you're contacting, and the campaign logic, how you're sending all of that. Then we're going to talk about capturing all of that intel, understanding the analytics, and understanding how we can keep testing deliverability, your ability to land in the primary inbox, and then how we refine and scale based on the data that we captured. And that is going to be automation, API work, and advanced tactics. Now, why should you listen to me in the first place? I'll actually tell you, it's because I've sent over 10 million cold emails throughout my career with fantastic deliverability, booked thousands of appointments, and was able to generate a lot of revenue from cold email alone. Now, if you want to see case studies and examples of how I've done all of this, you can check out my YouTube channel. There's going to be a lot of other videos where I talk about results specifically, but today we're going to get directly into the infrastructure itself. So, let's jump into it. We're going to cover Smartlead in a few steps. And by the way, as we cover these, I'll be mentioning guides and I'll be mentioning SOPs and I'll be mentioning tables that you can refer to. And if you want to get access to those, just leave a comment down below and I'm going to send them over to you, or send me a DM on LinkedIn and whatnot. And if at any point during this video you're like, hey, really cool, I like this, but I'd rather have you implement it for me, just book a call down below. We can talk about it. We can discuss it further. But let's understand how we're going to cover Smartlead in this video. We're going to start by talking about how do we set up the right email accounts and what that entails. Then how do we set up the right cold email campaigns. Then how do we monitor the master inbox. Then how do we analyze everything. And then how do we test our results, right? So that is going to be the order. Other things such as the CRM, integrations, client access, smart delivery, and smart servers are going to be covered along the way as part of these 4 pillars that I have just mentioned to you here. Okay, so let's start with the email accounts. What do you need to know from an email account perspective? First of all, is that once you open Smartlead for the first time, you're going to have nothing in here. You need to set up domains, you need to set up email accounts. And there's a few ways you could do it. And there's actually primary 4 ways you could do that. Number 1 is you could set up an account with Google and Microsoft, buy domains on GoDaddy, Squarespace, Cloudflare, or Porkbun, or whatever other domain provider, and connect them in here, and you're good to go. That is one option. Another option is you could set up SMTP servers. Another option is that you could use smart senders. Let me open that. Smart senders, which is leveraging other vendors to set up accounts for you, like hyper inboxes, like Zapmail, like Inbox Automate. I'm going to explain these to you, but just so you know. So that's option number 3, or option number 4 is you could have a smart server. Okay, so we're going to start there. Let's understand what each of those are, and then let's understand which one is going to be the best for you. And in order to do so, I actually would like to break them down by price, longevity, and quality. So let's do that. We're going to start with smart servers. What is a smart server? A smart server is a server created by Smartlead and warmed up by Smartlead that you can use to send emails from. What is the advantage of having a server? So consider this right here, your server, okay? This is your server. This is able to send emails every single day. And the advantage of using this is that you have one IP, okay? And you are the owner of this IP. This is yours, okay? Now, the advantage of that is that no one else will be able to destroy this IP but you. The disadvantage of that is that you are able to destroy your IP. And if you do, you need a new server. Okay? So if you destroy your reputation because you sent bad emails and you got reported as a spammer, well, you need a new server. So this can get expensive depending on your offer and depending who you contact, depending how they engage with what you're sending. So in summary, a smart server is a server that you own and you are completely responsible for its reputation. The advantage of that is that if you send great emails, you will have a good reputation. The disadvantage, if you send emails that are not that engaging and they're not that good, or you're sorting out, that you will probably burn through servers very fast and it will become more expensive. So that is why I usually say that pricing wise, this is not the best option. Longevity wise, it depends on the kind of offer that you have. But I would say in this case as well that this would actually be good if your offer is very good. And then quality-wise, I would say this is fantastic if your offer is good. Okay, so smart servers, definitely consider if your offer is fantastic. If it is not fantastic, and what would be an offer that's not fantastic? It would be selling meta ads to e-commerce brands on Shopify. That is very saturated, unlikely that you're going to have a very high engagement rate, okay? And that is, by the way, this is just market knowledge. I do know that's a bad offer from running it. And if you want to know what I think about your offer, feel free to comment it down below, and I'm happy to tell you. But that would be an offer that I would not run on smart servers. That would be an offer I would run perhaps on a regular account, okay? So let's understand regular accounts now before we get into smart senders, actually. So a regular account is an account bought on G Suite, okay, or Microsoft 365. That's what they call a regular or vanilla account. What happens is when you buy an account from them, they will add you to a shared server, okay? This is not like smart servers. This is a shared server that sends emails for all of the users that they put in that server. What happens is if this server gets a bad reputation, you don't have to buy a new one. They do that for you. So that is why regular accounts tend to be cheaper than a smart server if you have a bad offer. Because if you do a bad job at sending good emails, they will replace the server, they will keep up the deliverability for you, as long as you follow the things I'm going to tell in this video. But that is the advantage of using those accounts. Now, they are a bit expensive. They tend to be, as of the time I record this video, $7 per month per email account. That might be a bit expensive depending on how you're scaling your infrastructure. But the way I like to look at it is if you cannot afford these accounts that in my opinion are the best, that you probably don't want to be considering cold email as your primary and only channel of acquisition. Because if you cannot be profitable with those accounts, it's unlikely going to be profitable with the other ones, just from a deliverability and headache perspective. What I mean headache perspective is how much troubleshooting you have to do in other types of accounts. Gonna understand more of that as we go on. But okay, so regular accounts, they are not the cheapest, okay? They have one of the best longevities and they have probably the best quality out of all, or as good as the smart servers, okay? The trick with Google and Microsoft, though, is that they do not want you sending cold emails. So they will try to stop you from doing that. There is a specific technique that you need to put in place to set up these accounts. That would be a 25-minute conversation, and that's going to be a topic for another video. But you could set up Google and Microsoft accounts. They would be very good. They'll have great deliverability. As long as you set them up right and you fly under the Google and Microsoft radars for finding spammers. In summary, if your offer is good and you can afford $7 per month per email account, and I'm going to help you reverse engineer the number soon, then go with regular accounts as one channel that you run. When I mention one channel that you run, let me clarify what I mean. I mean the following. When you run a cold email system, okay, so let's say your cold email system is GoDaddy, okay, so let's call that GD, GoDaddy, plus G Suite, so let's call that GS, okay, GoDaddy and G Suite. And all of a sudden, you're noticing that you're not getting enough replies and things are kind of dying off and the system kind of dies. When that happens, you're now left with a bunch of considerations as to why it stopped working. It could have been deliverability. It could have been your offer. It could have been timing. People were out of office. It could have been that your lead list quality went down. It could have been all of those things, or it could have been that your infrastructure is just destroyed. You will not know. How would you not know? Because there is no real feedback loop for that. So the only way you would know if this infrastructure has stopped working is if you ran another infrastructure. This time, instead of GoDaddy, let's say that you use Squarespace. So SQ, Squarespace, plus Microsoft 365. Okay, that's a new system. If you're running two parallel systems and one of them stopped working, the other one keeps on working, at least you know it's not the infrastructure. Now, if both of them stop working at once, now at least you know it's probably not the system. It's very likely going to be your copy, your lead list, your overall settings. It could be something else, okay? And in order for you to be able to troubleshoot things like this, you need to run multiple systems, okay? So coming back. What I'm going to recommend today is that you diversify. You need systems in parallel. And so consider more than one of these categories. Although I'm going to break down which one is the best for you, considering having both or all of them if you can afford that. Okay? Now, let's go on what I recommend is best. Let's talk about smart senders. Smart senders, let me actually show them to you inside Smartlead. Smart senders is pretty much white labeling inboxes created by someone else. So for example, you can use hyper inboxes as your white label or Zap Mail. Let's understand what that means. Let's go to Google and let's type in Zap Mail. And okay, this is Mail Reef. Let me go back, Zap Mail. So this is a company that sets up infrastructures for you. They're setting up Google and Microsoft for you. But why are they doing that? Is it just because they can automate this for you? No. It's because they can offer it for cheaper. This is $2.5 per mailbox instead of $7 from Google and Microsoft. And now you're like, wow, okay, great. We found a fantastic solution. Let's just buy from them. Felipe said Google and Microsoft are the best, and now they are offering it for cheaper. Hell yeah, let's do that. It's not really like that. It doesn't work that way because of the way these accounts are set up. So look at this. Let me take this back. This is what I actually mean. So when you take, let's say, Zapmail, okay? Zapmail is a Google and Microsoft reseller. So they have an admin panel, okay? So let's call it admin panel, AP. And this admin panel is able to sell to multiple people, okay? So this is you, this is your friend, this is someone else that's doing cold email. What happens is when you send bad emails, you're hurting your friend and this other person sending cold email because they're all connected to the same admin panel, okay? What that means is when you buy accounts from, and I'm not talking about Zapmail specifically, I'm talking about other tools in general that resell from Google and Microsoft. When you're buying from them, your reputation is tied to the reputation of everyone else using their platform. And that might not be the best, okay? So that is one consideration. How does that compare then to the other options here? Is that price is definitely the best. Longevity might not be the best. You cannot really control. And quality, as a result of the longevity not being that high, is not going to be the absolute best, in my opinion. Okay? So that is a consideration. But there are not only three ways that you could have email accounts: Smart Server, Smart Senders, and regular accounts. There are alternatives. So what would be an alternative? An alternative would be a platform that uses a different method for setting up accounts. So I'll give you one example of one that I'm utilizing right now and is getting me good results right now. That is a tool called MailRun, for example. And this is not sponsored, by the way, but I do like using their services. I'm friends with the founder and I really like what they've been up to. When I use MailRun, I'm not necessarily buying accounts from Google and Microsoft. They set up an engine that sends out of Azure, okay? Azure. This is them connecting to a different version of Microsoft to be able to send emails for you. Now, these accounts have to be used in a different way than regular accounts. They usually send less volume, but they tend to be great on price. They tend to be good on longevity. Overall, I had fantastic results with them, and they tend to be great on quality. Now, is MailRun the only option available out there? No, definitely not. There's definitely other tools like Hypertide that could be fantastic for you, right? Hypertide actually does a fantastic job at setting up accounts for you. So this is usually how these tend to perform, okay? So why would you not go ahead and set up only alternatives? It's because if MailRun gets flagged tomorrow or Hypertide gets flagged tomorrow, you might just be left with not knowing why your whole thing is no longer working. And so you don't want to be fully dependent on a platform because of that, and because you just don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket and lose and it's because you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket and risk losing everything all in one go. Now, you understand how to choose from these range of accounts. You know you should be diversifying. So now how do you connect that to Smartlead? Let's say that you're getting a regular account in Google and Microsoft. Just click on Connect Mailbox. You go to Google OAuth, for example, and you add this right here as a client ID in your OAuth app. This is something you can click here to understand how to do. I'm not going to go in depth on that because you can just click there. It's going to have screenshots and show you very easily. I want to be very mindful of your time here. And then you just click on Connect Account, log in, and you're good to go. If you're getting an account from Smart Senders, what you're going to be doing is, let's say you're getting a Google account from, what was the provider? I think this was HyperInbox. It's going to put in the domain name. So let's say this is going to be Felipe for 123.com. You're going to choose your domain, and they are going to go and set it up for you. Consider this option if you're very low on time, by the way. It's a very good option if that's the case. So you select all of the domains that you want to set up, click on Save and Next, add in the first name and last name on the email accounts, and they are going to handle all of the buying, all of the setting up for you. If you're using Google and Microsoft accounts, you need to keep in mind that you need a few more things. The other things are going to be, you need DNS records installed, DNS records, and that's going to be SPF, that is going to be DKIM, that is going to be DMARC, and that is going to be Emacs, that's going to be custom tracking domain. There's going to be other things that you need to install from a DNS perspective. Again, I want to be mindful of your time, and I want to make sure I have the biggest amount of impact with this video. So we're not going to cover in specific how to do this part, because this part is very straightforward, is a very repeatable process. And so if you want to know how to set up the domains and emails on Google and Microsoft with GoDaddy, Squarespace, Porkman, Cloudflare, or any other domain provider, just drop a comment down below. I'll send you the right resource that will point you in the right direction and show you how you can do this. This is very simple. This is not what you need me for. This is something you could delegate to someone else very easily, and it would be done right. What I'm going to focus instead is on giving you the high level strategy to make everything work and everything comes together. I'm going to help you orchestrate the system. Cool. Now that you understand how to set up these accounts, what needs to be in them, how you connect them to Smartlead, we need to talk about how do we make sure these accounts are outbound ready. What does that mean? How do you get an account to be outbound ready? You're going to need what I call the inbox health triangle in place. So first, you're going to need what is called volume control to make sure that you're sending amount of volumes that don't get you reported as a spammer too much. You're going to need domain age, meaning establishing a reputation, and you're going to need proper account preparation. That's going to be warm up. So let's cover these three one by one, starting with the warm up. What is called email warm up in the first place? Cold email warm-up is a strategy where you connect your email accounts to Smartlead and you let Smartlead send emails back and forth on your behalf with other email accounts connected to Smartlead. What is the benefit of doing that? The benefit of doing that is building trust with Google and Microsoft as email entities. Okay, so for example, if I set up a new email account, okay, consider this square right here, a new email account, and I send 1,000 emails tomorrow to 1,000 different people. What would Google and Microsoft think of this from an outside perspective? Them looking down on this, what would they think of it? They'll think it's pretty fishy, right? It's pretty odd. Someone just came out of nowhere, sent 1,000 emails, and we never heard of them before. What's going on? So what do they do as a result of that is they just flag you. Okay. So they just stop everything from going through. You go to limbo. You don't even go to spam. So volume control is ramping up your sending volume gradually over time. What does that mean? That means that you're going to send emails, let's say, in an increased amount every day. So you're going to start by sending, let's say, do it like this, 3 emails today, then 6 emails tomorrow, then 9 emails the day after, then 12 emails the day after that. And that is how you gradually ramp up your volume. But if you just send emails and no one engages with them, what would Google and Microsoft think of that? Pretty fishy still. Why is this person sending emails that no one's replying to? Why do they not like them? And if they do not like them, what would be in the best interest of Google and Microsoft to do to you? You're straying users away from the platform by sending stuff that's irrelevant to them and they're not replying, they're not engaging. So what should they do to you? They should ban you, or they should shadow ban you, or they should somehow punish you for doing that because they want people to engage and stay customers of their platforms. Else they do not make money. So therefore, they're going to stop you. So how do we fix that? We fix that by having a good reply rate coming out of these warm-up emails. That is the secret to success. Now, I'll emphasize on how much of a secret to success this is. I have on average 5 hours of calls every day, consulting calls. And for at least one of them every day, the only thing I fix is what I'm going to show you today about warm-up, and their campaigns start performing again. It is that important. And if this is done wrong, you will have a bad reputation as a cold email sender, and you will have terrible results overall after a specific amount of time. There are, of course, people that will get away without doing this right for a while, but not for too long and not at scale. I'm here to teach you scale. I'm teaching you how to create a system that has longevity. Okay. So these here are emails. This here is time. Okay. So emails over time. Now, the secret is we want to send a very low amount of volume per day just so we don't get flagged too much as a cold email. Okay, now that you understand that, let's understand how do you know how much volume to send per day per email account. The way that you know that is based on how often you think you're going to get flagged as a spammer. So let's say that you send 10 emails per day. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you have on average 3 emails that get flagged as spam in this order. Okay, the secret to, and by the way, email reputation always comes down to engagement. If your engagement is poor and negative, your reputation takes a hit. It's as if you're trying to build a credit score and you're not paying the bills on time. You take a credit hit, right? So in here, whenever you're getting reported as a spammer, it's a negative feedback loop to Google and Microsoft that you are a spammer. So they are more likely to report you as a spammer. But what happens to be the number that will flag you? It tends to be around 3 spam complaints per day. Okay? 3 spam complaints per day. So you want to avoid 3. So now how do you know how many emails you can send per day is based on when you think you're going to get to 3. You will not know because Google and Microsoft are not incentivized to tell you. If they tell you, you're going to change your strategy and you're going to keep spamming. So they will not tell you. You will have to figure this out based on results. But I will give you a guideline. I will give you a breakdown of what numbers to use. But most important, I'm going to break down the premise to this so you know how to come up with these numbers yourself. So if you get flagged every, what would this be, 3, 6, 7 emails, 7 is the number of emails per day that you want to be sending in order to fly under the radar. And so in order not to flag their system that you are a spammer. So you send 7 emails per day. Now, okay, you understood that. So you're going to gradually ramp up the emails to where you think you're going to be sending, and you're going to keep it up there, and you're going to have a high reply rate in the warm-up to fake engagement and kind of fake a credit score as if you had a system that would pay your bills on time just to build a credit score for you. So now, let me remove this here. Now, what numbers should you use? I will actually, instead of showing you each of the numbers, I'll tell you that just comment down below. Let me send you the numbers that I'm currently using for every single email service provider, and you just copy those and adapt based on what I just told you. Adapt based on what you think your spam complaint rate is. Now, how do you figure out what your spam complaint rate is? You look at your results. Whenever you see that reply rates are dropping, it's because you're getting likely reported as a spammer overall. And that is when you reduce the volume of sending. So whenever, this is a principle, whenever there is a problem, okay, let's do it like this. Problem, okay? Whenever there is a problem of any kind, what's the thing that you do is you reduce sending volume. That is what you do. This is always the solution, okay? Reduce sending volume, figure it out. As soon as you get results again, ramp it up. Okay, so that is how, if you want to know the numbers, again, contact me. I'll let you know. The other thing is, for how long should you be running these numbers and build enough domain age where you have an established reputation? The minimum, okay, minimum is 14 days. Okay, so 14 days of doing this warm up and this volume control that I just told you about is enough for you to have a good reputation and be able to start your cold email campaigns. Now you know that you're going to be sending warm up emails for 14 days and you're going to control the volume after that. And if you want to know the exact numbers to add based on what I'm running, you're just going to comment down below and I'm going to send you the sheet with my current warm up numbers and how I split the volume from the campaign and the warm up from there. Now, you got all of that. Now, how do you input these numbers into Smartlead? Very simple. You're going to open Smartlead. You're going to connect your mailbox like we talked about so far, and you're going to open the mailbox. Now, my goal, again, is not to show you how to click buttons. It's to show you how you can get the best results with the tool. So I'm going to cover each of these tabs right here. Overview, general, warm-up management, and campaigns. In the overview, what in here is helpful to you as the person that's judging this cold email system? Let me get a purple color here to highlight. It's going to be the warm-up email sent. It is going to be landed in the inbox and it's going to be saved from spam. If there is something off with any of these 3 variables, there is something off with your email accounts and you are likely to have bad results from the cold email campaigns. So for example, if for whatever reason Smartlead has had some outages and you did not send enough warm-up emails, that is something that will be a bit concerning to you. And that will be something that may make you pause cold email campaigns until this is fixed. Now, what number should be in here? It should be anything that is above 30% plus of expected, let me put here, expected sent. Okay, so when you ask me for my settings or you add your own settings, you're going to be looking at what is the amount of emails expected to send per week. Let's say that we're sending 25 emails per day, x 7 days. That is going to be, let's do it here, 25 x 7, 175. Let me just close that. equal 175. Now, if this number right here was less than 30% of 175, this is a problem. If it is a problem, what do? You contact their support and you pause your campaigns until this number is caught up with the number it should be. Now, how about landing in the inbox? This right here should be at 97% plus of this number right here. So 97% plus. And I'm not pulling these numbers out of thin air. This comes from a lot of split testing and knowing what works and what does not work in email. Sometimes, depending on the client and their offer, we want this to be at 98%, just to be very safe. But 97% still consider okay. Anything below that needs to be improved in the warm-up. It needs to have either a higher reply rate in the warm-up or more time in the warm-up. Save from spam needs to be, in this case, the same thing as here, land in inbox, less than 3%, right, of the total amount of warm-up email sent. And that is pretty much as you need to know. Email received will only worry you if this number is less than the expected reply rate that you're going to plug into the warm-up settings, okay? So if you want a 30% reply rate, and in here the number is 25% of the total amount of email sent, that is problematic. Then again, you want to contact Smartlead support, and you want to pause the campaigns until these numbers are very healthy. Now, note, this is only viable after the 14 days of initial warm-up. Before you've done this, you do nothing else, okay? So these numbers are to be analyzed after that. And how often do I analyze them? Is every 7 days, okay? So that explains the overview. General tab now. General tab is where you're going to add your information. Here, there is nothing too special. You're just going to put in information if it is an SMTP. But the one thing you will want to do is add a custom tracking domain. So that is a domain that will be used as a redirect every time you add a link in your cold email campaigns. Now, should you add links in your cold email campaigns? That's a different story. But why you want to have this on in here is because if ever you do want to add links, you will want to have this set up. And on top of that, if you add this, you're warming up links already from the warm-up. And that is a good thing for your email account to do, and it will improve your deliverability. And as it says here, it may get up to 20% of an improvement in deliverability. And I found that to be the case. So always make sure that this is on. Cool. Now let's get into the warm-up settings. Warm-up settings are, actually, I'm sorry, I skipped one thing. There's one thing in the general tab that's extremely important, and that is the throttle of how many emails per day are going to be sent in the campaign and how often they're going to be sent. Okay, so what does a throttle mean? It means that, think of it this way, think of it like a bottleneck, okay? You have a bottle right here, okay? And then you have like the neck of the bottle. That looks actually terrible. Let me do it again. Let's say that you have like a bottle right here. Every bottle will have like its neck where you're going to pour water out. And so water is only going to roll over as considered like for as much as this neck here allows. Okay, this is your bottleneck. This is your throttle. In cold email, your throttle is the email account. So this right here is the email account. And you want it to be that way because there is ways you could make the campaign be the throttle of how many emails go out. You want the email accounts to be the throttle that decides how many emails are going to go out. So if you want to send 10 emails per day, it's defined here, and there is no way the system will send more than 10 emails per day. So this is your throttle. We're going to come back to what number to use here later, but this is extremely important. This is a number you change when you launch cold email campaigns. This number is extremely important. The minimum time gap is how often you send an email. How do you think about how often you send an email? Simple. If you were someone sending emails manually without copy pasting and with personalization, how often would it take you to send an email? Definitely not 1 minute. You wouldn't type it that quickly, right? Depending, of course, on type of emails you're sending. But from a general perspective, you wouldn't send them really fast. So the rule of thumb here is that you want this number here to be high. You want to mimic human-like behavior. You want to mimic someone that is busy. So usually I put a minimum number here of 30 minutes. So every 30 minutes I send an email out in the campaign. It looks legit, okay? This number, you never want to be at any point below 10. You never want it to be less than 10 minutes. It's always more than 10 minutes, okay? Always more than 10 minutes. Cool. That is that. That covers general tab. Warm-up tab. Here's where you define, first, if you're going to be running warm-up. So yes, this button should be always toggled on. How many emails you're going to send in the warm-up. How many emails you're going to send per day to ramp it up. If you remember like the graph I did before of like 3, 6, 9, and whatnot, that is defined right here in the daily ramp-up. And this number, the one I recommend, is 3, 2, 4. So either it's going to be every 3 emails, so you're going to go 3, 6, 9, or it's going to be every 4, so 4, 8, 12. Okay, it's going to be like that. So put either 4 or 5 in here. You can rotate some accounts 4, some accounts 5. Randomized number of warm-up emails per day is to add variability and make sure it doesn't look mechanical. So I like to put this in a 5 email close range. So like this, in a 3 email close range. So if I want to send 50 emails per day, I would put this to 47 and 50. And that is because if it only sends 47 every day, it will still not be less than 30% when I come to analyze the overview tab right here. Okay. So warm-up, randomized number of warm-up emails per day will depend on how many emails you're sending per day, but it should be a 3 email range of the total amount of emails you want to send per day. Reply rate is your credit score. This is how many people reply to you. This should always be a very high number. Usually it's going to be 60% plus, but you can find the right settings and the settings that I use based on the document I can send to you if you comment down below. Daily target for inbound warm-up emails. This is how many emails you're going to receive. You usually don't have to change this, to be very honest with you. It's a new feature that they launched, but you could keep this to be around the amount of same emails that you send. So around, let's say, 50 emails per day, for example. Okay. Customer identifier tag is just a tag that you put in your emails that you send out. You can put this to whatever. Just make sure that you're changing this often. Don't keep it to solar wheel, for example, for too long, else this becomes a fingerprint for Google and Microsoft to know that you're sending cold emails because all of the emails you send in the warm-up have this tag. Okay, you don't want to have unique identifiers. Enable auto-adjust warm-up sending ratio, you're not going to need because I'm giving you better settings than they would be pulling here. And these settings that I use are advanced settings that have been split testing across the board against different settings. And so you'll benefit from using those more than you'd benefit from using a default setting. Okay. Warm-up custom tracking domain always on, and send warm-up emails only on weekdays, although it would make conceptual sense that a real human would only send emails Monday to Friday. From our testings, it's been way better to send emails every single day, so 7 days a week, and therefore we always keep this option turned off. Cool. Now we covered the warm-up. Let's talk about management. This is just where you see the tags. There are 3 tags that I'm always going to use. It's going to always be warming up. It's going to be in recovery. And it's going to be ready to use. These are the 3 warm-up tags that I use, and I change based on the warm-up settings that are inside. So if I'm warming up an account for the first time, this is the tag. If the account does not have great performance on the overview tab, then I'm going to call it an in recovery. I'm going to change the warm settings. If the account is perfect health and I can add it to campaigns, it's going to have a ready to use tag. Why do I not have a tag that's in campaign? Because I don't need that. Ready to use to me is sufficient. I keep it very simple, very straightforward. Add client would be if you're running campaigns for clients, so you could assign it to a different person each time in here. Not something that I have much to recommend on. This depends on how you're structuring your company. Then campaigns. This is just where you can see what campaigns are running and at what time and whatnot. Not of much help to look at this setting. Cool. Now we covered the email accounts. What do we need to talk about from here? We're going to talk about campaigns. So how do we launch campaigns that work really well? There's going to be a 4-step process. Number 1 is going to be you need clean leads. That's who to contact. Number 2 is compelling scripts. That's what you say. Number 3 is strategic timing. That is when you send it. And number 4 is proper settings, which is how you send these emails. So we're going to cover each and every single one of these, but not only how to add them. I'll give you a mini masterclass on each and every single one of these. One note. You want to treat your email accounts like soldiers, not tanks. So this means you want to deploy surgical communication strikes. You don't want to just send a copy in bulk like a tank shooting a huge ball of gunpowder, right? That's probably not what they launch in a tank. But that's for the sake of an example. You want to be a soldier. You want to shoot bullets, each bullet at a time targeted at one person. In cold email, you want to send one fantastic email at a time to one person that wants to receive it. Doesn't mean you need to change a copy every time. It means that your emails need to be good. So what makes an email good? Let's cover that. What makes an email good is 3 things. It needs to have a great offer. Let me do this here in green. It needs to have a great offer. It needs to be believable, and it needs to be relevant. Now, what does this mean? A great offer is defined by 3 things and subcategories from there. So the 3 things or the 3 categories are going to be makes money, saves money, and saves time. You want to hit one of those 3 pillars to have a great offer. And then if you want to make the offer better, you're going to have a subcategory. For example, guarantee. So I guarantee you that I'm going to make money or you don't pay me. For example, it's going to be a pay on performance. You only pay when I make you money, right? Or it would be that you have a lot of experience delivering that offer. Those are all things that add to the greatness of your offer, okay? Makes money, saves time. Then how well can you do those things? That is what defines a great offer. I actually have a spreadsheet that I use to evaluate offers with, and I can send you a link to the spreadsheet if you want to. Just comment down below. I'll shoot it over to you on your socials, okay? So yeah, let me know if you want the sheet on how to craft great offers. But for the sake of this, let's continue and let's cover believability. How do you make an email believable? Believability is giving people reasons to trust you. So how do you give people reasons to trust you? You share case studies. You share proof of work. You share social proof. Maybe you have a big following. You share certifications. You share reasons why people should believe in the first place. And then once you did that, so you have a great offer, it's believable. Now it needs to be relevant. So let's understand this. What would be a great offer that's believable and not relevant? A great offer would be, I sell the cure of cancer. I know it doesn't make money, save time. It's actually saving lives. But as the sake of an example, I sell the cure of cancer. And I'm a doctor that has done this for other 10,000 people that had cancer and I cured them. And I'm sending you this offer. Would you buy it if you don't have cancer? No. And that's because it's not relevant to you. You don't have the pain point. So unless you want to resell the cure of cancer that I'm selling as a doctor, you don't see benefit in this offer. And this is where a lot of people fall short with their cold email campaigns. They might have a great offer. They might be believable, but the people just don't want it right now. So you need to figure out the relevancy. How do you figure out relevancy? You need to look for companies that have already mentioned they have the pain point, or you just need to send a lot of volume. Okay, so how do you find companies that mention they have a pain point? For example, if an e-commerce brand has posted that they're looking to recruit a media buyer, I know they have a paid ads problem, right? And so I can reach out to them and sell them media buying services. Now, on the other hand, if I'm looking for companies that are trying to improve their backend and they're not trying to hire a COO, for example, how would I know if they need my offer or not? I wouldn't necessarily, right? I could look at headcount growth to kind of tell me when things are going to be breaking the backend, but I wouldn't truly know. So if that is the case, I would not have relevancy, and I'm just going to send more emails. And I'm going to ask people if it is relevant, and they will be able to tell me. So, summary. You want to have an offer that's as more of a triangle as humanly possible. You want to be as good on all 3 of them. It's not going to be the case most of the time. So sometimes you're going to have an asymmetric offer where it's great, believable, but it's not really that relevant, okay? So you don't really have a triangle, okay? You have a play button right there. And that is when cold email will suffer, right? You will not have a fantastic lead rate. And how do you improve your lead rate? You improve these 3. You need to understand where your offer is in terms of greatness, where your believability is, and how relevant you are to these people. And these are the only 3 tweaks that you're going to do from an offer perspective to make your cold emails perform better. Cool. So that is copy. What should you say in your email? That is something I'm not going to cover in this video. And the reason for that is because I already did another video where I talk specifically about copy and how you can leverage AI to write copy for you. And the link to that is going to be in the description of this video. So definitely go check it out. Cool. Now, coming back. So we covered compelling scripts. There is one more thing to compelling scripts that we're going to cover inside Smartlead in this case. And let me show you what it is. So we come to email campaigns. We're going to launch a new campaign. So we're going to click on create campaign. We're going to go to sequences. There is one more thing. We know, because we established this in the beginning of the video, that spam is equal bulk plus unsolicited emails, okay? When you send these 2 things, you get flagged as a spammer. So what we're doing is we're setting up a lot of email accounts so that it doesn't look like we're sending emails in bulk, because we're sending low amounts of emails from each email account instead of sending a lot from one, okay? So that is what we're doing. We're spreading our sending. Now, another thing is Google and Microsoft are not that unsophisticated, for lack of a better term. And so they will know when you're trying to do this type of stuff. How? By the copy that you send. Because if you send the same email 21 times, for example, following this analogy right here, they will know that the same email got sent 21 times. And it doesn't matter to them that it came from 3 accounts. It matters that this was sent 21 times, and they may just flag the script Okay, so they may just cancel this script from landing primary inbox. Okay, important for you to know. That is why you don't want to copy paste stuff. So how do you fix that? You have to do what is called spin syntax. Spin syntax is rotating words. So for example, if I say hey, hi, and hello, this way, what's going to happen is every email sent out will have one of these three variables, hey, hi, or hello. Now, if I do this enough times, so let's say in the signature, thanks, thank you, and cheers. Now I have already 9 variations right here. 3 here, 3 here that can be matched up to 9 times. Now, if I add another one just for the signature, for example, now I have a lot more variations. So if I keep on going and adding spin syntax, I'll have a lot of variations. Now, how do you get a lot of these done? Just use this prompt right here, bro. I literally do this on a daily basis, and I have this on my copy paste. So if I type spin on my Mac, it just literally outputs the prompt. Pause the video, copy the prompt, add this in GPT-4o, and have it generate spin tags for you. When you generate a lot of spin tags, you send emails that are unique, the emails that don't get flagged, and emails that can run for a long time without starting to lose their effectiveness from a deliverability perspective. Cool? So that covers everything you need to know when it comes to an email perspective. In terms of like which subject lines to use, which emails, which copy to write, how to write better copy, check out the other video I have linked in the description. Now let's talk about cleaning leads. This is the next big topic. For this, quality data only, and we need to have data that is clean. So small masterclass on email, on lead generation is that lead gen is broken down into 4 steps. Let me come in here and grab black. It's 4 steps. You find companies, then you find people, then you find emails, and then you validate. Validate plus clean. Okay? These are the 4 steps of lead generation. If you do these 4 things, you have a lead list. So you find companies that are right, you find people inside those companies that are decision makers, you find emails for them, validate those emails to make sure they're real, and you launch your campaigns. Cool? What should you use for each of these? It depends on your industry. So I have videos in this channel to talk about lead generation. If you want to check them out, they're going to be linked down below. But in general, what do you use to find companies? You could be using tools like Apollo. That would be one example. Apollo. How do you find people from Apollo? Apollo finds that for you. In this case, how do you find emails for them? Apollo finds that for you. Okay. How do you validate and you clean? Now you don't use Apollo. Now you use a tool that's called Use Bouncer, for example. Use Bouncer. Or you could email waterfall enrich cold emails and then use bettercontacts.rocks, or use other vendors. Use Lead Magic. You use any mail finder. Use other providers. Okay. But this is a small breakdown of lead gen. You will want to consider things like waterfall enrichment, using multiple vendors to get emails and get more emails. You will want to consider waterfall enriching people. You want considering waterfall enriching companies to find more data. But that is a bit of a long topic that I recommend that you check out in the video down below as well. But summary is you're going to do these 4 things. You're going to have a very good list. The list needs to be clean. So for example, you don't want you don't want company names that are like Nike LLC CO USA. You want it to just be Nike. Because the easiest way for you to be reported as a spammer is by sending an email that looks like it was automated. And you look like you sent an email that was automated if you did not clean the company name properly. For example, or the first name is fully capitalized. So you need to have that clean. And how should you clean that? My honest recommendation is to use AI. And then you use GPT for Sheets on Google Sheets to run your AI prompt to clean the company names. If you want the AI prompt, please just shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I'm happy to send you the prompt that I use. Okay? But that is how you get your list to look clean. This is how you enrich it, and then you're good to go. From there, we need strategic timing. So how do you define strategic timing? Let's go into Smartlead. Come back here. So import leads, by the way, you just upload a CSV file once it's done in here. Now let's talk about the setup and the schedule. When should you send emails? My recommendation is that you send emails from Monday through Friday, okay? From 9 to 5, so you're compliant, and this is not legal advice, but you're more compliant with CAN-SPAM Act and GDPR. And you send emails with a buffer of at least 30 minutes, like we talked about when we talked about the warm-up settings. Okay, so that is it. Choose the time zone to be the time zone of your prospects, and you're good to go, except when you have a strategy that is different. For example, I have a strategy where I send emails at 6 a.m. to brick and mortar owners, and I say in the email, hey, I hope to catch you before you get on site, and then I get you my email. It looks like it's personalized for the fact that it's personalized based on time, right? Actually on time here. And so that helps me from a strategical perspective. Another example would be, let's say you have, you sell meta ads to e-commerce brands, and these brands sell mom and kids products. Okay. So you could send a message on Sunday, for example, if this is true for you. And you could say, hey, first name, my wife is absolutely going to hate me for being such a workaholic, but I came across your brand and I had to reach out. And then you get into your email. What does that do? That personalizes email at scale based on time and adds relevancy as to why you're reaching out. And it's just a cool line that will overall increase your reply rate. That is just one example. But that is when you would break these rules right here. But if you want to be compliant with laws, and is again not legal advice, you just send 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, every 30 minutes, okay? And that is those are the timing settings. Then in terms of sender accounts, you want to add all of your sender accounts that have the tag ready to use. Remember we talked about it in the warm-up settings that we have those 3 tags. This is why you want to tag your accounts, because now you can select them in bulk. You come to filter, you select here the tag name, and then you select ready to use, and voila, you're ready to add that to your campaigns. In terms of the campaign settings themselves, I do recommend the following. I recommend that you randomize the variant and spin text distribution, okay? Then I recommend that you boost your deliverability by sending emails in plain text without HTML. This is something you're going to do whenever you're not sending links or images in your cold email campaigns. And the reason why you do that is because when you don't send code, you don't have to get checked for malicious code. And that tends to improve your deliverability. And in my tests at scale, this is something that has played out positively. How positively? It's very hard to measure. To be honest, it was all over the place depending on the email sending account provider. Like on Microsoft, it was different than Google, but it was positive in all tests, just by different ranges of how positive. So I recommend that you keep this on if you're not sending, again, images or links. Next, what shouldn't we track? I recommend not tracking email opens and not tracking link clicks. The reason for that is because as if I was inviting people to come to my house party and I was sending paper invitations, I wouldn't care about how many people open the paper. I'd care how many people come to my party. And the same is on email. I care about how many people reply and not how many people open my emails. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, and it sounds counterintuitive because of this myth that there is a direct correlation of opens and replies. People think that if you just get a higher open rate, you get more replies. And intuitively, it sounds great. But what usually happens is for you to get more opens, you tend to get a little bit more clickbaity, okay? And being clickbaity does not mean you get more replies. It means that you are going to piss more people off, okay? How does that correlate? If my subject line was urgent open now, I would probably have a 90% open rate. But the moment they open the email and they see a pitch, it will create what is called cognitive dissonance. You came in expecting one thing and there's another thing. It creates confusion. So now they're more likely to report me as a spammer and tell me to F off. Right? So instead, if my subject line was, and this is not a good subject line, but it's an example, fix your pixel issue. Pixel, I'm referring to the meta pixel that you can install on your website. And someone opens that, the likelihood they're going to hate my email is very low because I've been very upfront about the content that's going to be inside my email. Now, that is not a good subject line, by the way. But I just want to tell you that, like, the 20, let's say I get 10% open rate on the second subject line and 90% open rate in the first one. I'm more likely to have a higher reply rate on the 10% than I am to get on the 90%. Okay? And that is just because of cognitive dissonance, how you're tricking people to open the email. So there is not a direct correlation of open rates and reply rates overall. Sometimes there will be, but not always. And it could be a misleading metric that will cause you to F your campaigns. Because you may just want to increase open rates by improving subject lines. And now people stop replying. And now you think it's a copy. So you change the copy. And now no one is replying at all. And now you're in this negative spiral of bad results. So therefore, I do not recommend tracking opens. And link clicks is the same thing. But with link clicks, I like tracking them, but I track them from inside analytics. Which analytics? I like to use Google Analytics, so G Analytics. So I connect that to the website. I track everything that comes from cold email, and that's how I track link clicks. Let's move on. Assigning a smart server. This is if you already bought a smart server, you have your own IP, you select that here. Prioritizing sending pattern doesn't really matter too much, as if you want to send follow-ups faster or contact new people faster. If you contact new people faster, the likelihood you have a higher reply rate off the get-go is a little bit higher, depending on how good your follow-ups are or how bad they are. But okay, this is something you can split test with and see whatever works better for your emails. If I want to fill a pipeline fast, I usually just go for 100% new leads, contact everyone in my list, and then I start sending follow-ups. Okay. Company level auto-pause is if you contact someone in a company and they reply, you don't want to contact anyone else in the company. If that is true, then you keep this on. Okay, I usually keep it on, indeed. Okay, the next one is enhanced email sending and delivery. This is the idea that if you send emails from Gmail accounts to other Gmail accounts and Outlook accounts to other Outlook accounts, that you're going to have better deliverability. Sounds quite cool. For the longest time, this didn't change results. And recently, it did not change our reply rate, but this has changed our bounce rate. We found that we have a lower bounce rate when we enable this. So I tend to keep this on. I tend to turn this off when I don't have emails from both email service providers. Like I don't have emails from Gmail and Outlook, then I keep this off. But if I have both, I usually keep this on and I rock on campaigns like that. Isolated lead email provider sending is something you don't really have to bother too much about, to be honest with you. I have not noticed this changing results, so hey, it's fine. Then intelligent AI categorization. This will be helpful if you want Smartlead to categorize replies as positive, neutral, or negative. Okay, so you can keep this on if you want to categorize them in the master inbox. But we're going to talk more about that later on. I usually keep this off. Okay. Auto bounce rate protection, I usually keep on and I put a bounce rate of 3%. So Smartlead pauses a campaign if we hit a 3% bounce rate. Bounces are whenever emails don't exist or they got blocked. And that is a negative feedback loop that you need to monitor. So I usually keep it to 3% and I stop campaigns then and I reevaluate what to do. Now, this is a new feature, domain level rate limiting. I never used this before. I have not tested this off yet, but it's the idea that if your email service provider, let's say Google Outlook, recommends sending low volume of emails per day, like less emails per day, this option will do that, okay? I usually keep it off because I like to control all of this, but again, it's new. I haven't tested this too much. And the last one for the settings is unsubscribe. So I do not add an unsubscribe message in all emails from this option because I do not want to add links or add headers to my emails because I'm sending as plain text without HTML. What I do instead is on the sequence, I say, PS, if this is not relevant for you right now, let me know and I will not contact you again. So it serves as an opt-out, but it's not a formal opt-out that will hurt my deliverability. This is not legal advice, but it's how I run things. And now you understand how to launch campaigns very effectively. So make sure that you add some of your own emails to the lead list so you can receive the first emails that are going to come out of Smartlead, cross-check if the quality is good, and then refine if you need before you put the campaign actually live. But this is all that you need to launch successful campaigns. If you want to learn more about cleaning leads and getting good leads, check out the video in the description. If you want to learn more about compelling scripts, check out the video in the description. And strategic timing and proper settings, you're all covered on. Okay, great. So now you understand how we're going to be setting up the campaigns inside of Smartlead. You understand how you're going to be getting leads, or you're going to watch the video recommended on how to get leads. Then you're going to also watch the video on how to write compelling copy, and you're going to watch that whole masterclass, but you know how to put it in Smartlead. You know how to generate spin syntax. You got the prompt. You also know when to send these emails. You know the strategic timing that's optimal for your campaigns, and you know the proper settings to use, and you know why you're going to be using those settings and treating these settings the right way. Now, what is important for you to know is how to read the battlefield. How are we going to interpret this data so we're not flying blind? And so that will encompass when we're analyzing this data, how much data actually matters and how much of it just makes up for noise, how we interrogate the numbers, and how do we drive actions from there and drive outcomes from those pieces of data that we just gathered. So let's first talk about timing. When does it matter for you to analyze? In my opinion, and based on my tests and how long I've been in cold email, you cannot analyze anything before 7 days, okay? So 7 days is the bare minimum. But why is that? Let's take, for example, that you're sending emails during Memorial Day week, and you're analyzing the results of that week. Are they going to be accurate? Unlikely, because people were likely out of office, they're just getting back, they're just checking their emails again, and they just didn't have the chance to reply to you. So that just made all of the data that you interpreted irrelevant, because a week later, it would probably be completely different. So what you want to do, or a few days later, it would be probably completely different. Now, you want to analyze every 7 days. That is bare minimum, unless you have one of those situations that I like to call for pattern breaking purposes, a daughter falling off a cliff. It's when campaigns are going absolutely terrible. Then you should be analyzing it before 7 days. What would that be, for example? A daughter falling off a cliff situation would be, for example, your bounce rate is above 5%. So 5% plus bounce rate. So that is something you would come in and cross-check, you would fix before 7 days. Another example would be if your reply rate is below 1%. So in that case, let me put here reply rate. In that case, you would also come in and you would fix things. Another example of this might be a negative reply rate above 2%. Okay, so negative reply rate. If any of this here happens, this is a daughter falling off a cliff. This is a moment where you want to come in and you want to understand what is happening and you want to fix it immediately. If none of this here is true, then you want to analyze results and drive decisions from that data every 7 days. Now, to what sample size should you be doing that? The sample size that I recommend is at least 500 leads. If you're analyzing data that is not from 500 leads that were contacted, you're probably looking at a lot of noise. And even if your total addressable market is pretty small, meaning the amount of people that you could even contact in your industry is below, let's say, 2,000 people, you still need to send 500 emails on average to be able to judge what you're seeing. Because else you might be looking at data that is just related to that batch, right? So you're looking at batch specific data. And the problem with that is that you're going to drive conclusions based on the batch and not on your overall TAM. And it might drive you to stop a campaign that would otherwise be a banger. So you could have campaigns turn around after 500 leads. And that is why you want to analyze every 500. Another reason why every 500 is also because of timing, because you could reach a bad timing situation for 500 people. Very unlikely it's going to happen at 1,000. So yes, every 7 days, every 500 leads is when you want to be coming in. The exception to this rule, once again, is the daughter falling off a cliff, or if you're sending a lot of volume. And a lot of volume for me is going to be 10,000 leads. Okay, so every 10,000 leads, if you do that every day, then you would analyze every day, keeping in mind that it might be a timing problem. Okay, so this is the standard: 7 days, 500 leads, unless you get to 10,000 or you have a daughter falling off a cliff. So now let's set the scenario that you are checking every 7 days, every 500 leads, and you're seeing numbers such as a 1% reply rate. Okay. And out of that 1% is taking you 1,000 people. Oops, let me fix this. It's taking you 1,000 people to get a call. Okay, it's your lead rate or your booked appointment rate is 1 out of 1,000. Does this mean that your campaigns are bad? From a number perspective, perhaps. But the way I like to analyze things, and I recommend that you analyze things, this might be fine. Because if it takes you 10 calls to get a client, so 1 out of 10, you have a 10% close rate, which would be overall not ideal. You'd probably have to fix something. You're probably talking to the wrong people. You're probably, or if you're pricing too much, then it's fine. But anyways, 1 out of 10 could be something improved. But in this case, let's say it's 1 out of 10. And you charge 5K for this. Is this profitable? Yes, very likely, depending on how you're getting your data. So I will break down costs for you just to really exemplify it as well. But I want you to keep in mind that when you're analyzing numbers, you're interrogating numbers. You're not just glancing at numbers and mindlessly thinking of how you could figure it out, how to make that better. Yes, you want to improve it, but you want to first keep in mind that you're in this game to make money. And if you're in this game to make money and you are making money, you do not stop a campaign. That is the point. Don't stop a campaign if it's making money. Stop it if it is not. If it is unprofitable, that's when you have a problem. And numbers could be great and it could be unprofitable. It could be that this number here turns into 20 out of 1 and then it all becomes unprofitable. Then, of course, stop. But let's break down the numbers. How could this possibly be profitable? It's actually very simple. So let's do this. I'm gonna do it on the spotlight. Let's say that you have 100 email accounts, okay? And these email accounts are able to send 30 emails per day. So you got vanilla accounts, the ones that I usually recommend. And by the way, Why do I know 30 emails per day? That's based on the numbers I'm sending right now. If you ask me in the comments, I'll send you the spreadsheet of what I'm sending, and you will know how to calculate from that based on what's currently relevant. It might not be 30 for you. Okay. 100 email accounts, 30 emails per day, 22 days of the month. That's 66,000 emails that we're going to send. Divided by the 1,000 people it takes to get a call, we're going to get 66 calls. This would be 6 closes. Okay, so we established that we got 6 closed clients from 100 email accounts in a month. So we're going to get 6 closed clients in a month. Now, for us to run the system, we have 100 email accounts at $7 per month. That's $700. Then we're going to have $1 per month per domain, and we're going to have 50 domains. So that's going to be $50. So that's going to be $750 just on infra. Plus your cost of running Smartlead. Let's say that's going to be $250. Okay. So we are at $1,000 plus the amount of that's going to cost you to get the data. Let's say that you're getting data out of Apollo, and not that I recommend that you do this, but scraping it with Apify. Another video you can check out on my channel, link down below. But you're scraping out of Apify. That's going to cost you, let's say, $300. Okay. So it costs you to run this in a nutshell, okay? There's going to be more cost overall, but not more than this. So let's say $1,500, okay? So $1,500 to make, what would that be again? Let me rerun this thing. That was 6 clients, x 5,000. That's going to be $30,000. The math makes a lot of sense, right? So yes, you need to analyze things from an ROI perspective. Even though those numbers could have been a lot better, it's still very profitable. You still don't stop your campaigns. You just keep on improving from there. So always break down the numbers first. I'm thinking if my math all made sense. It should have. It's going to be around that, the expectation. But even if it was worse and the system cost you $5,000 to get 30K back or $30,000 back, it's still very worth to keep on running and not stopping just because the metrics are bad. Okay. Now, how do you analyze everything? Come into Smartlead. There's a few ways. Number one, you come into the campaign, you go to analytics, and you're able to analyze right here. You are able to see which email variation is performing the best. If you want to see what you sent in an email variation, all you do is you just click on the sent or you click on the replies, right? And you'll be able to see which email variation is getting that reply, right? Like this one here, for example. You're able to drive conclusions from here. What do you recommend that you analyze? As you already know, I do not recommend that you analyze open rates, but I do recommend that you analyze reply rates. I do recommend that you analyze positive reply rates. I do recommend that you analyze bounce rates. Cool? All if you sent more than 500 emails, okay, to 500 contacts, okay, and every 7 days, okay, 7 days. Then we are analyzing these 3 metrics right here. What should you aim for? Depends. I need to know who you are and what your company is all about. If you have a personal brand in place and you have a lot of followers, your numbers should probably be a lot better than the ones that are on the screen right now. If you do not have a personal brand, you do not have following, you do not have reviews online, you are sorting out, your numbers will probably be worse. Not that these numbers right here, this is a pretty bad campaign that I did not launch myself, to be very clear. So things that will affect this are going to be the pillars we talked about. Who you're contacting, how great, relevant, and believable your offer is, and how good your infrastructure is. But in general, but if you want to know what I would expect if I were you, you can either drop a comment down below giving me context as to what you sell, to who, and I'll be able to look you up online and I can tell you what you should kind of expect. Or you can book a call with me down below. Link is below. You can just talk to me on the phone. We can reverse engineer your numbers and see if there's something I can help you with to make your numbers better. But okay, this is place number 1 where you can analyze results. The other place could be the performance tab. Performance tab will tell you a little bit more specifically which accounts might be having problems, right? So you can see all of your accounts right here. You can see if any of them are having issues with throttling, if any of them are having issues with blacklists, if any of them are having issues with DNS records and whatnot. So this tab is pretty cool. Honest though, I never use it. Okay, been using Smartlead for a very long time. Love the tool. Never use this tab. It's a cool tab, but I don't really find that much help in analyzing things from here. So I do like to analyze things from the analytics tab, and I do like opening the email account performance tab in here to analyze from an account perspective what is going well, what is not going well, and see if I have accounts that are not pulling any results and that I need to remove from my campaigns. So yes, I do analyze that here. And what I mean is, if I see that most of my accounts are getting a very high reply rate and some of my accounts are getting no reply rates after I contacted 500 people, I might take this account out of campaign sending and put it back in the warm-up. Okay, that's one of the things I would do. I'll be honest with you. I am very excited to help you go through the numbers and help you optimize this if you think things are bad. So I will actually encourage you to book a call with me and talk further on this. But if you want the short summary, this is all that I do. I check at the sent, I check if I need to remove an account based on its results, and then I just put it back in the warm-up, bring it back a week later, and monitor again. I do recommend doing this from an API, which is from the backend and through automation, which I'm going to tell you more about in this video. But if you are not and you want to do it manually, you can do it from here. The last place where you can check analytics is from the Global Analytics tab here on the left. And in here, you're going to see from all of the campaigns what the results look like. So let me put this account here to, I can only do 30 days in Smartlead. So you can see the last 30 days what results look like. Let me take a good month on this account. Let's say that was April. Okay, so look at this. This would be better results for you to look at. This is more realistic of what this account has done. Sent as many emails, got this reply rate right here, got this positive reply rate. This is incredible. What is the lead rate of this account? Let's understand. We have 19,954 people contacted divided by 422 opportunities. That is one opportunity every 47 people contacted. So I contact 47, I get one interested, one person activated. Out of these 47, probably the amount of calls that were booked were around 15 that were very qualified. And out of those 15, it was one client closed. Okay. So this is how the numbers broke down for this client here specifically. Very likely numbers were a bit better than this, but I'm just trying to be very conservative to give you a good measure if you want to compare against this. And by the way, bounce rate was very healthy. Now, in this tab, this is as much as I usually analyze. I might do breakdowns by, for example, email provider, and I might look at what are our results on Google versus Microsoft. But I'm going to get a little bit advanced if I start explaining all of these things to you. And my goal here is more to inform you as to where you can find this data, what is important from a baseline perspective. And if you want to get very advanced, I'll probably record another video. Or you just hop on a call with me and then we break it down bit by bit and we understand how your numbers could be a lot better. Cool. This is as much as you need to know about analytics. This is going to be very helpful. We can now get into the master inbox. So how do we deal with replies? First, emails that you send out are meant to get a reply. They're not meant to sell a client. They're not meant to get someone to hand over their credit card. So our goal is to hook them. It might be that you're selling someone towards a form that you want them to fill out. It might be that you're just acquiring signups, right? It might be that you're just getting people to check out your SaaS. And then, yes, you do want them to sign up, but your goal is just hook them. Whether it's going to be to get a reply, right? Or it's going to be to get a click. Okay, that is all that we want to do from a cold email perspective. We don't want to do more than that. So keep that in mind. Now, when we get those, we now have to deliver on those. And so the way that we're going to reply is going to be with a few principles in mind. Principle number one, speed. You will make more money if you reply fast to your prospects. If people reply to your cold email campaign saying, yes, send me more details, and you reply back within 10 minutes, you will 100% get a better result than someone that replies within a few hours, so let's say 6 hours, as long as your reply is of the same quality. You will very likely see a 3x return on this, more than you would if it took you 6 hours. So speed is number one. Second is value. So you need to share something that is actually of interest to the prospect. And a lot of people confuse this. They believe that value is getting someone to hop on a call immediately. It might not be. They believe that value is sharing a free guide. But if the free guide is not perceived as valuable, this is actually taking away from the value of the email. So the way you want to reply is with competence, delivering insights, sharing how you believe that your method could work for them, sharing how you could help them, sharing ideas that could help them. Those are all things that could be seen as valuable. And then you want to follow up. The money is in the follow-up. You've probably heard of this before if you've been in sales, and that is very true. How many follow-ups are we talking about? On email, on average, I recommend 6 follow-ups. Oops, follow-ups every 3+ days. What does that mean? If someone replies with a yes, then I'm going to reply back in 10 minutes. Okay, this is my reply. Then I'm going to wait 3 days, and then I'm going to send another follow-up. And then if they don't reply, I'm going to wait another 3 days, and then I'm going to send another follow-up, right? And I'm going to keep on going like that. That is the goal, up to 6 times. Why 6 times? Because after that, you're probably just bothering them. They haven't replied for a reason. And then you're better off going omnichannel. Okay, so omnichannel. What does omnichannel mean? It means that you're going to go to LinkedIn, for example. Okay, so you're going to go to LinkedIn. Or after that, you're going to go to Meta. You're going to send them a message on Facebook or IG or somewhere else that is not necessarily just email. Or better yet, you're going to watch the video put down in the description, and you're going to do Meta ads to follow up with them without being abrupt. So they're going to see you everywhere because you're retargeting them with Meta ads once they've clicked on your website link, for example. If they ever checked you up, you should definitely be retargeting them with Meta ads. And the video I'm going to link down below is going to break down how we booked calls consistently for over a year for $30 a pop, just from retargeting Meta ads, following this structure that I'm showing you right here. Okay, and okay, so you're gonna follow up until you get a close. You convert that into action, you get someone to hop on a call. Now, how do you do that from inside the master inbox? Let's understand. You're gonna come in here, master inbox, and then you're gonna have here all of your replies, right? Do note that this is your primary inbox. What comes into the inbox are leads, okay? Leads added to or leads added to your campaign. So if I added Felipe at 7figureoperations.com to my campaign and I replied, it would show up here. What if you emailed Felipe at 7figureoperations.com and Paui replied? It will then go to untracked replies. Okay, so that is the second inbox that you need to monitor. You need to come in here daily as well and cross-check all of the emails that came through to your email accounts. Okay, so inbox and untracked replies. Those are the 2 places we're going to be tracking all of the replies that you have. Once you click in one of them, you're going to be able to see the whole conversation with this lead, and you'll be able to reply from here. Of course, you can just click here on the 3 dots, click on reply, and you're good to start replying and sharing your value right here. Do mind that you could use AI to help you generate the reply if you're uncomfortable coming up with one on your own, or you want to save some time. You could schedule the reply to go out later. I would probably never use this function right here, but you could if you want. And what's most important is that you want to set a reminder for you to follow up with them in 3 days from the day that you're replying. Okay, so that is something that's very important. Right? You're going to set up reminders for everyone that's ever replied to you and that you replied back, so you know when to follow up with them again. So make sure you're always doing that. That's the most important thing you're going to do. Once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is you want to categorize the lead. So you want to come here to lead category, and you want to say what this person was. Did they ask for more information? Were they the wrong person? Were they interested? Did they request a meeting? What happened, right? You want to categorize the leads. This is going to become later on your hot list, the list of people that you want to contact whenever you need to close a deal. And that list is actually going to be the people that have requested information, that were interested, and that requested a meeting. These are the 3 people that you want to follow up with consistently. And whenever you need a new client and you need it fast, these are the people that you're going to contact on omnichannel or other places, right? This is your hot list. Okay, so make sure that you're always, and I mean always, categorizing leads right here. Other features that you could use from here would be assigning it a deal value in case you want to track how much pipeline you have on your way. You could add a task. This is pretty much setting up a reminder for you to follow up with them again in the future. You could add a note in case you want your reps to know about what's going on inside this account. You could push a lead to a different campaign or a sub-campaign. And there are other things you could do here. You could block the lead. You could resume the lead if you want to continue in the campaign because you didn't like the reply. You could mark it as unread. Okay, but this is the base breakdown of how to use the master inbox. Remember, once again, you want to check the inbox as well as you want to check the untracked replies. And now you have everything you need to be able to reply and get clients from cold email. Okay, once you mastered all of the things we talked about, The next thing in your pipeline is going to be going advanced. That's going to be deliverability placement tasks. That's going to be deliverability settings, and that's going to be API automation. Inbox placement tasks can be done inside Smartlead natively in the following way. All you have to do is you have to come here to Smart Delivery. You have to come in here and create a task. Could be automatic or manual. The difference is very obvious. Automatic runs on a schedule. Manual runs every time you trigger it. So let's say we are doing a manual task. In this case, we could say, let me call this a test, okay? And let's say that we want to check with Spam Assassin. This is just a spam filter that would be analyzing our emails. These are the settings just like you'd put in the campaign. So if you're putting links, you're going to check them. You're going to send emails every 30 minutes. Remember, that's important. Same as the campaign. And you're going to save and ask. You're going to then add the list that you want to be sending, the copy that you want to be sending, that is selecting the campaign and the sequence side of campaign. And you're going to choose the email accounts that you want to add. And now you are ready to rock. You will get an output at the end that will tell you what things look like. Now, mind you, nothing that you do from a deliverability testing perspective will ever be as accurate as contacting your target audience. Why is that? It's because email service providers, they personalize your experience as a user, just so it better suits what you're looking to get out of the platform. So if they notice that you report cold emails as spam very often, if you just send it to junk, right? Junk, the likelihood that an email that might be cold going to junk is a lot higher. So that is why you need to check in your target audience. When you run a deliverability task like this one, you are sending to a seed list, a list of email accounts that were set up just for the purpose of receiving these emails. So the result might be inaccurate. When is it helpful then if it's not accurate? It is helpful when you're going to notice that emails don't come through, meaning you're getting blocked before you can even deliver, and that's a very bad sign. Or when you're noticing that your copy is getting flagged, meaning it's going to spam a lot on Microsoft only, right? So Microsoft 365 is blocking your emails. Then you know you got to change your copy. So that is when this here would be helpful. And this is how you launch a task, and this is how you analyze it. Cool. Again, the best way is to actually sending emails in your campaigns. Now, next, deliverability settings, your inbox armor, right? Like, so how do you put settings so you stay safe at scale? The best way is to keep on checking your metrics. If you're bouncing high, if you're getting blocked a lot, if your negative reply rate is really high. And that is your best measure of deliverability. And how can you do that? Through the API. What does that mean? So let's open the API documentation for Smartlead. API documentation. And you might be asking yourself, what kind of automations would actually be helpful for you to run through the API? So I'm going to name a few of them. And these are automations that are set up all day long at sevenfigureoperations.com, and they work really well for clients and get them better results and whatnot. So automation number one is an auto-enriching automation that finds leads, qualifies them, enriches them, and automatically adds them to your top performing campaigns. That is one automation that would be fantastic to set up and is all possible through this API. Not the lead finding part that is done with other tools, but then automatically updated to Smartlead based on specific analytics data that you found in Smartlead. So for example, if the lead rate is better than 1 out of 100, find me more leads and auto update in the campaign. That's a very possible automation. It's a very good one. I strongly recommend having it. Another one would be an automation that automatically stops bad campaigns. So if a campaign has sent more than 500 emails and has not in the last 7 days reached the specific amount of leads that we want to get out of it, it would automatically stop the campaign. Another one would be one that checks all of the warm-up settings every single day in every single email account and adjusts the warm-up settings based on that. And that is a very helpful one when it comes to deliverability. It will get you better deliverability overall. Another one would be to automatically appointment set prospects based on when they reply and reply with a fine-tuned AI model. So if there are any automations like that you want to know more about, drop a comment down below. I'd love to record a video about it. And I'd also love to tell you a whole lot more about that. That could be a video on its own, but I just wanted to open your mind that all of these things that I mentioned, or the things that you can see here in the API documentation, can be done in bulk without your effort. And you can use platforms like NADN, where you don't pay per action if you're self-hosting, meaning all of the costs that you're going to have is just a server. And that would be, for example, $30 a month to run. And now it executes everything on autopilot for you. Now, how do you do all of that? That would need to be a topic for another video. And if you're curious about it, just drop a comment down below. I'd love to help. If you found value in what I showed you in this video, you'll very likely also find value in this other video that's on the screen right now, teaching you about copy. The link is also down below. If you need any further help, just let me know in the comments or book a call with me, and I'd love to talk. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next one.